Hey, future Broncos. On behalf of Project Caminos, welcome back to another episode of Bronco Scoop. My name is Deicy. I'm a fourth year architecture major here at Cal Poly Pomona and also a student assistant of Project Caminos. Thank you so much for joining me for this new episode of season 3. In today's episode, I will be getting the scoop on the cultural centers at Cal Poly Pomona. Thank you so much for joining us today, Wendy. Can you please introduce yourself and your role at Cal Poly Pomona?
Hey everyone, my name is Wendy Cordova. I use she, her, and ella pronouns. I have the privilege of serving our Cal Poly Pomona community as the senior coordinator for cultural centers. What that means is that I work with all the students, the staff, and the community to make sure that we are thriving and not just surviving here at Cal Poly Pomona.
So what cultural centers does Cal Poly Pomona have?
We have 6 cultural centers. The 6 are the African American Student Center, the Asian and Pacific Islander Student Center, the Cesar Chavez Center for Higher Education, which is also known as our Latinx Resource Center here at Cal Poly. We have the Native American Student Center, the Pride Center, which is for LGBT services for students, as well as the Women's Resource Center. However, we also have centers like the Undocumented Student Services. Also, they have a center known as the Broncos Dreamers Resource Center.
So what was the first center to open at Cal Poly Pomona?
Yeah, so the first center, actually, it was 3 at one time. So the story behind the cultural centers is that they are totally centered on student activism and student voice. So back in the 90s, students looked around and they saw very little diversity. And so in 1993, a group of primarily Chicano Latino students, along with other multicultural students, came together and marched and protested to the president's office. Because of this protest and their student voices and really their sacrifice of the students, we were able to open the first 3 cultural centers in 95. And that is the African American Student Center, the Cesar Chavez Center for Higher Education, and the APISC, which is also our Asian Pacific Islander Student Center. So those 3 opened, and then soon after, students within the LGBT community said, you know what, we also need something for us to feel connected and in community. And so we are the first CSU to open our LGBT center, which is our Pride Center here. Later came the Native American Student Center, and that is our newest center as well. And you might be wondering, what about the WRC, Wendy? Well, the WRC has been around for over 40 years, whereas the cultural centers have been around for about 25 years plus. But with the WRC, they were really part of, I feel like I'm getting too much into it.
I'm so into, because I knew about the cultural centers and I didn't know the history. I'm so into this. Okay. Yeah, continue. Yeah.
Okay, so the WRC has been around for 40 years, whereas the cultural centers have been around for 25 plus years. The WRC was really one of the first identity spaces to open up pathways for marginalized and diverse students on campus.
Wow, that is so interesting. That's crazy. I did not know that they have such a long history on campus. So I am a student who lives far away, and I'm also first generation. So when I came to Cal Poly, I was really excited that there were centers that were focused on having events for the community. How can these centers also benefit local students?
Awesome question. So first off, tell me where you're from.
I'm from the Central Valley, like 3 hours. Yeah.
That's awesome. I have family out in Bakersfield and Delano. And so, yeah, I also went 3 hours away from from my hometown to college. And as a Latina first generation, that was a really big deal. And so my hometown is Pomona, but I ended up going 3 hours away, like I mentioned before. And so although it's super important for folks who are, kind of like out of their element to make that connection with the campus, it's even more important for students who live in our local areas like LA, like Pomona, like the San Bernardino County, to make those connections with Cal Poly Pomona. Why? Because if you don't, then why are you even, paying these tuitions? Like, make the most of your time here, get involved with the things that are connected to your passion. And I would just say, like, if you take it slow, definitely don't jump into everything, but really make it work for you, because at the end of the day, all of these connections, all of these experiences are going to be full circle. The more that you give to yourself in giving to your community, the more that you will receive back. You'll be able to make connections with faculty and staff that will write you letters of recommendation. You'll be able to add to your resume by volunteering with one of the cultural centers. You'll be able to add to your resume as well about some of the, workshops that we host. And beyond anything, you'll be able to make those long lasting friendships, because from my experience, some of the friendships that I have from high school are still there. I speak to one or maybe two people that like were my BFFs or my best friends, but from college, I have like 10 people or more that I'm still connected to, that we, that these are the relationships that really helped me get through college, because it is a challenge, but each of us has a unique contribution to this university. And so the more that we feel connected to our campus, the more that we're happier, the more that we will be able to commit to that end of the goal, which is graduation and then career success. So it is just in your benefit locally, instead of saying bye, like, I'm here from 9 to 5 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but on Thursdays and Mondays, don't talk to me. Like, that is not going to benefit you. And if it does, then, come and share your experience with me, because I'd love to hear about it. But eventually you're going to see how crucial it is to find your niche at Cal Poly Pomona, and whether it's the cultural centers, the cultural and identity centers, or it's associated students, or taking on an internship, doing community service, whatever that looks like for you, go for it, dive into it. And this is the time, right? College is a time to explore and create those relationships.
Yeah, I think that's important, that a lot of the people, like coworkers that I work with, they're involved at school, but they're also from the local area, and they say that for them it's because they grew up here, this is their local home. So by working here, they're able to serve their community and give back to the community that they were part of. And I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah,
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because one of the big reasons I've moved back to Pomona is because I wanted to serve my own community. And so I think that also makes me think about the fact that we do have job openings in the fall, and we hire every spring for all 6 cultural centers. And so you can get involved with, an on-campus job, as well as an internship that we offer here at the centers, or volunteer, whatever that looks like for you. Just step into the door and we will totally embrace you.
Yeah. So for students who are new to the Cal Poly Pomona campus, where are the cultural centers located?
Yeah, so the cultural centers physically are in what's called Building 95. and the old stables building 26. Because there's 6 of us, we are spread across campus, but we're really centered locally in the heart of campus. You're totally invited. But the other ways that you all can connect with us and where we exist is also through a virtual platform. Like, the pandemic happened to all of us, and we also learned a lot about how we can better serve students. And so we use technology like Discord as well as Instagram. And we dabble into Facebook, and so you can totally find us on those social medias. But we also have an on-campus platform known as My Bar, and that's where we post all of our events. We post an about us, so that's another way that once you get here, you're able to look up and get involved with us.
Do the centers offer scholarships, and are they open to incoming transfers and freshman students?
Yes. So we participate in what's known as CPP Fast, and it's a scholarship fast that the whole entire campus that offers scholarships is a part of. So as a student, you can, as a student or an admitted student, you can start to fill these applications out. It's a general application, and you can click all of the scholarships that are available and apply to you. So a large majority of our cultural centers do offer scholarships through CPP Fast. And we love to give back to our students. We love for students to be able to share their story with us and let us know why they will use these funds and how these funds will help them continue towards their success. And so it's another way for you to get involved. This might, be the first opportunity that you see as a student to be able to apply for a scholarship. And then we embrace you and welcome you into the community. So don't be shy about it. Sometimes you don't even have to quote unquote participate in order for you to apply. You don't have to be, quote unquote, part of the community. They're open to everyone. Everybody gets a fair shot.
What kind of events are offered by the cultural centers?
So we have a variety of events. I love all of our heritage programming. So this means that, like, one of my favorite programs is Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. In previous years, we've kind of created this night event with a local upcoming band, a lot of music, altares or altars, or people call them like altar installations, food vendors, like mercadito vendors or like market vendors out there. And it's just an amazing time that you can bring your family, your friends. And so that's one of my favorites. Another event that we offer is the Pride Formal. So it's a literally, if you think about your homecoming formal, but for the LGBT community. So many times our students within the community are questioning or are not sure at the high school age if they can safely come out. Well, this is an opportunity for students to celebrate themselves, celebrate their identities, and we offer this program through the Pride Center. And so those are some of the examples, right? But overarching, some of the services that we provide are not just programming that helps our students feel celebrated in their identity, but we also offer one-to-one coaching. So you can sit down with one of the coordinators, someone like myself, and have conversations about your personal and professional goals. You might not even know really why you want to meet with somebody, but just to sit down and figure out, how do I do this college thing, right? Or can you help me with finding an organization, or can you help me with figuring out if my major aligns with my passion. And so those are some of the conversation starters that we can have. And then we'll connect you with a network of support. Maybe, I'm not your major advisor, but I can connect you to them and have some of those fruitful conversations. So that's one of my favorites. But the other pieces that we also provide is like community space. So you can come in to these centers, study there, and talk with people there, use our computers, use our printing. You can check out books. They're all identity-based books related to each of the centers. One of our books from the library. Really make yourself really comfortable within the spaces, because they're, again, your space. Students, alumni fought for these spaces so that students can be comfortable in these spaces and be yourself, right? So those are some of them. And then another ones that I'll mention is we often offer a lot of like workshops. So we do a lot of workshops on how do you talk with faculty? Maybe you need a little bit of help with, the homework, but you're a little bit intimidated. Like, how do you work your way up to, approaching your faculty, whether it's for a homework assignment or a letter of recommendation, or if you're thinking about graduate school already, right? Like, maybe this is your third year and you're like, yes, I want to continue my higher education. Well, we'll offer personalized workshops for our students to start thinking about that. And so there's just so much to pick from, whether it's coming in person or attending a workshop, meeting with a coordinator. You are welcome in these spaces, and these spaces are for you.
Yeah, just off of looking at like my bar, if you do like a quick scroll through all the events that the cultural centers have, there's like any kind of event like that you could think of anything that you want to do. Like if you just have nothing else to do and you want to go see a drag race, like it's on my bar, you can go. So that is the cool thing with the cultural centers. They're sick, so they're always hosting different kinds of events, and they're really open to anybody that wants to attend them. How can prospective students find out more about the different cultural centers?
Yeah, so if you're interested in learning more about the cultural centers, visit our websites. You can do a quick Google search, such as CPP, African American Student Center, and we will pop up. Once you click on that page, you can get a link to our Instagram, and our Instagrams are often updated daily. And we also have link in bios that will lead you to our Discord channels. It will lead you to our MyBar pages. If we have a scholarship opportunity posted, we'll post there. You can usually request a meeting with a coordinator if they have their availability there. So there's so many things that you can do, and Instagram has really been a lifesaver, especially during the pandemic.
Can students register for events if they're interested in attending once they're students at Cal Poly Pomona?
Yeah, so if you're interested in attending one of our events, I would say if you see a flyer, just come by. But if you want to formalize your participation, you can definitely, and what I mean by formalize is that, you RSVP, you put it on your calendar, and you don't miss the date. You can use MyBar. MyBar is, again, a tech platform that our campus uses for on-campus events, for connecting with student organizations. Another amazing thing that it does is that it helps you keep record of all of your involvement here at CPP. So by the end, when you're a senior, you have a transcript of all of your extracurricular or co-curricular activities that you participated in, and you can add that to your resume. So definitely get involved with MyBar, as well as their record keeping.
Lastly, what advice do you have for future Broncos?
Oh my gosh, all you future Broncos listening to me out there, I just want to say that you are incredibly loved already. And this campus is a campus who loves our students and love what we do. Our staff and faculty work really, really hard to make sure that you are reflected here at CPP. And so the advice that I give you is just come in soaring, right? Like, come in knowing that this place is for you. And if you ever have any doubts, or if you ever have any unfamiliar situations, reach out to the cultural centers, reach out to myself. And I would love to be able to meet with you, reassure you, and make sure that you have all of the resources and take advantage of the resources, because sometimes we don't even know that these resources exist for us until we find ourselves needing them. But the more and more that we connect and talk in community, we can get you what you need. So just make sure that you go in and you get them, because we're here for you, and we're so excited to have you.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for families or the support systems of students?
Definitely, for all my families and for all the loved ones out there rooting on their future Bronco, I just want to say to you that we celebrate you as well, and that you're part of this journey. You're not being left out of this journey, that you come with your Bronco, and that we want to include you in these important milestone moments, right? And so we can't wait to not only have you here during orientation, but also welcome you back for their celebrations and graduations, right? And so we know that you are the backbone for many of our students to be able to continue to persevere, and that all your sacrifices that you made to get your Broncos here are not in vain, but that we as faculty and staff want to support our students. And so have them connect with us if you ever see your student maybe showing different signs of who they are, whether it's stress, whether they're not sleeping as much because now they have finals and midterms. Like, have them connect with a faculty or staff that is trained professional to be able to help your student.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. This week, we encourage you to follow one or all of the cultural centers mentioned today. They're in the descriptions, or you can also find them through the website, as Wendy explained. Get a jump and start seeing the type of events and resources they have to offer for you. Join us every week for a new episode of Bronco Scoop. Subscribe to our channel, CPP Access and Transition, or follow us on Spotify, Bronco Scoop, to never miss a scoop. Make sure to check out our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at CPP Caminos to keep yourself updated. If you have any questions or want to talk about anything Cal Poly Pomona related, email us at caminos@cpp.edu. Project Caminos Bronco Scoop is supported with funding from the Department of Education Hispanic Serving Institute grant and Cal Poly Pomona's Office of Student Success, Equity, and Innovation. Tune in for more.